How to tell the gender of a kitten, a complete guide. Finding out a kitten's gender can be both fun and important, especially for people who are in charge of its care and well-being. It might seem hard at first, but knowing how to tell a kitten's gender is important for taking care of them, keeping an eye on their health, and maybe even breeding them. Qualities of the body. By looking at their physical traits, kitten parents usually figure out what gender their kitten is. As the kittens get bigger, these traits stand out more, making it easier to tell the difference between boys and females. Here are some important things to think about. Or check the genitalia. The space between the anus and the opening of the genitalia is usually pretty small in male cats, an opening in the groin area that is small and round. On the other hand, a female kitten's genital hole is closer to the anus, making a slit-like shape. Distance between anus and genital opening. The distance between the anus and the genital opening is usually bigger in men than in females. This is in addition to looking at the genitalia. Secondary sexual characteristics. As kittens get older, their secondary sexual traits become more clear. Some of these are differences in body size, physical features, and even behavior. Differences based on age. As cats get older, it gets easier to tell what gender they are. When kittens are very young, it can be hard to tell what gender they are. But over time, some traits become more noticeable. By age, here's the list. 1. Newborn kittens, 2 weeks. Because their genitalia aren't fully grown yet, it can be hard to tell what gender a newborn kitten is. Seeing changes in size and weight could give you some clues. 2. After 2 to 4 weeks, the genitalia are a little easier to tell apart, but not by much. 3. Between 4 and 8 weeks, the genitalia become clearer, and the space between the anus and the opening of the genitalia gets bigger. After 8 weeks, secondary sexual traits become more noticeable, which makes it easier to tell the gender of a baby by looking at its body. Help from professionals. Sometimes it can be hard for people who aren't skilled to tell what gender a kitten is. To get help in this situation, you should talk to a doctor or an experienced breeder. These professionals know how to correctly tell a person's gender and can give you advice on what traits to look for at different stages of growth. Finding out the gender of kittens is an important part of taking good care of cats. People can be sure of whether a kitten is male or female if they know the physical traits and changes that come with age. People who own pets or raise them can benefit from this information because it improves the health and well-being of these cute pets. People who may find it hard to decide their gender can always get help from a professional, which makes sure that the process is correct and reliable. What ways do cats act that help us figure out what gender they are? It can be hard to tell for sure what gender a kitten is just by looking at how it acts. But as kittens grow and develop, you can notice some general trends and habits. Keep in mind that everyone is different, and behavior alone may not always be a good sign. However, some behaviors may help you figure out what gender a cat is. Here are some things to think about. Acting in a playful way. Kittens, both male and female, usually like to play, but males may play more rough and fast. They might play rougher with their litter mates, acting out behaviors like hunting and fighting. Kind and caring personality. Most people think that female cats are friendlier. They might like to be cuddled and want to be close to the people who care for them. but each person's personality is important and levels of affection can change a lot. 3. Tendencies in terms of territory. Male kittens may act more protective, especially as they get older. This can include spraying urine to mark their area. It's important to remember that spaying or neutering can greatly lessen this behavior, which is more common in male cats that haven't been neutered. 4. Sounds of voice. Kettle boys may be noisier, especially if they haven't been fixed. During mating season, males that haven't been neutered may make noise to draw females. However, cat sounds can be very different from one another. 5. Being independent. Female kittens may be more independent than male cats. They may be more likely to explore on their own and not need as much attention from people who care for them. Again, the person's attitude is very important. And instincts of a mother. Kitten girls may have maternal feelings even when they are very young. They might take on caring roles in the litter, grooming, and taking care of their peers. 7. The dynamics of society. In homes with more than one kitten, watching how the cats interact with each other can give you some hints. When it comes to behavior, males may be more dominating, while females may be more cooperative or social. But these patterns can be changed by many things, such as people's personalities and how they were socialized as kids. It's important to remember that behavior alone is not a sure way to tell what gender a kitten is. The most accurate way to tell a pet's gender is to have a veterinarian or an expert person examine it physically. Also, spaying or neutering at the right age can have a big effect on and change some habits that are linked to a pet's gender. In case you're not sure, it's always best to talk to a veterinarian to get an exact gender determination. When we know for sure what gender a kitten is, with each kitten's growth and the appearance of certain traits becoming more noticeable, it becomes easier to tell what gender it is. Here is a general timeline for when you can figure out what gender a baby is. From birth to 2 weeks. Because kittens' genitalia aren't fully grown yet, it can be hard to tell what gender they are. At this point, there aren't many physical changes. 2 to 4 weeks. The genitalia start to form, but there may not be many changes at this point. At this point in time, it can be hard to be sure of your gender. From 4 to 8 weeks. At this point, the genitalia are more clear, and the differences between boys and females are more clear. But it still needs careful study, and people who haven't done it before may find it hard. From 8 weeks onward. When cats are 8 weeks old and still growing, their secondary sexual traits become more clear. Some of these are differences in behavior, body size, and facial traits. At this time, figuring out the gender is more accurate. The prepubescent stage, which means before sexual maturity. Before sexual maturity, which usually happens around 6 months. There are bigger differences between boys and girls. It is easier to find out the distance between the anus and the opening of the genitalia, as well as other physical traits. Sexual maturity of 6 months or more. It's usually easy to tell the difference between male and female kittens by the time they are sexually mature. Male cats may look different from female cats, like being bigger or having a wider face. If they are not fixed, male cats may also grow testicles. Female cats may be smaller, have more delicate faces, and if they haven't been spayed, their testicles may not be obvious. It is important to remember that every cat is different, and some may grow up faster or slower than others. It also gets easier to figure out someone's gender as they gain knowledge. If you're not sure or if accurate identification is necessary, for example, for breeding reasons, you should get help from a veterinarian or someone else with a lot of experience who can confidently tell the gender from the animal's appearance. Spaying or neutering the kitten when it's old enough can also help stop the bad behaviors that come with being sexually mature. We hope you found the video useful. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Hope to meet again with new content.